We're back to discuss Steve Jobs, the movie, and if you saw our review, we enjoyed it. Getting into discussion about it, the spoiler part of it, yeah, I didn't know what the 3 acts were going to be, but I had it narrowed down to 4, and I was right about that it was going to be one of those, it was going to be 3 of those 4.
I was surprised like the iPod wasn't the last one, since that was when the company really started to...
See, my guess was that it would be the Macintosh, next, the iMac, and the iPhone.
Right.
Those were my 4 big moments.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they decided not to build up to the iPhone, that they end with the iMac, because that's really the...
And just hint at the iPod.
They hinted at the iPod, but that worked so much better for the way this story was told.
Yeah, because it would have been stretched out too much if time-wise.
And I mean, the iMac was successful, so it's like...
That was the turnaround.
Right, you don't want to do... You don't have a success...
I guess it's not like we don't know what came after.
Right, but you don't have a success in the second act and have nowhere to go from there. It's like, yep, the iMac was awesome.
Right.
Yep, the iPod was awesome. Yep, the iPhone was awesome.
Yeah. So that kept that struggling curve going on throughout the movie.
Yeah, I did like that she said toward the end that it looked like Judy Jetson's Easy Bake Oven. Because the iBook, which was the laptop version of it, the original iBooks, which were all like in all the colors and all that stuff.
Yeah, clamshell ones.
Yeah, we used to call them toilet seats. Ooh, that's what they look like.
It's called Fisher Price vehicles for the iMacs.
Yeah, they were really expensive toilet seats. So, no, I thought it was really well done. The pulling the story of him and his daughter into it front and center. At first, I thought was they were sort of playing that up just to have some extra drama in there. But I think that was really more to inform you about the stuff with him and his adopted parent situation and that whole thing. Like, that's what that was really there for. It wasn't to say, like, Steve Jobs is a terrible parent. It was more like, but Steve Jobs is a messed up human being.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The very, very end, like, I found some of it a little bit annoying that it focused so much on it, but the very, very end, I thought was really cool, and suddenly came to this really cool conclusion where he's been trying to create all these amazing products, but he's been a totally flawed human being, and this was him starting to kind of get both in sync. You know what I mean? Like,
well, he actually says it.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
he says, "I'm poorly made."
Yeah, and then the visual of the daughter standing by the side of the stage and him on stage looking. I just felt like it was all starting to come together. Where being like Wozniak said, you can be decent and make decent stuff too.
Yes.
From the time Kate Winslet pretty much lays down the law for him about the Time magazine cover to the end was absolutely riveting. I could not take my eyes off of it. It was just amazing. The dialogue was great. The performances were top notch, especially the scene between him and Jeff Daniels.
Oh yeah,
that was great just stuff. Such a great scene. But yeah, when he says that he's poorly made, that is the only self-deprecating thing he says in the entire movie.
Yeah.
But that's huge for him who wants to make perfect products.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the acknowledgement of the reality distortion field, which is totally a real thing.
Yeah, I remember in the 90s when, I was working in the computer field before Steve Jobs was at Next, and then while he was there, and then when he came back. And when he was not there, like, Apple wasn't a consideration. Like, you just didn't...
Right.
No one cared about them. And when he came back, it was, like, really exciting, and everyone, like, was looking at working there and all that kind of stuff. And I got to a point where I was thinking about going to work for either Apple or Microsoft. I was like fairly young and like thinking about moving out and doing that. And I looked into it, and the culture at Apple is abysmal. At least it was then. I don't know how bad it is now.
It was definitely bizarre then because there was the split culture specifically, which kept happening
Yes.
on and on. The Lisa versus Mac,
The product team, yeah.
the OS2,
Yeah.
and even when Steve came back, the classic Mac versus OS X,
Right.
a Rhapsody at that time.
But like the biggest thing for me was like morale was universally terrible, and people that left Apple universally hated Apple, and people that left Microsoft universally loved Microsoft and liked working there. And they had a nice culture.
Yeah.
So it was this really interesting thing.
That's
of like,
weird. Yeah.
do you want to work at the like hardest, worst place to work, or do you want to work at the fun, everyone's happy place to work?
Yeah.
When my sister was here, she had to work with Apple, and she would tell me horror stories about having to deal with Apple and everything. So I can imagine how bad it would be. And watching that makes me think, good Lord, it was probably even worse back then.
Well, and I would have been getting into like the quality assurance side of stuff, which would not have been fun at Apple at all. Like, it would have been much more fun to like product test for Office 2000 or something like that than to be
You'd be on your 38th
Like-
shark.
yeah, than to be like the guy that's making sure that the old iPod like shuffle wheel worked correctly.
Right.
I will tell you this much: Apple will accept your money to license things they no longer license out to anymore. We kept using NextStep for years after it was dead.
Oh yeah.
They revoked our licenses in the mail. We just sent them more money. They said, okay, they cashed checks.
Most software companies will do that. Like if you, if you're a bank and you still want support for Windows 98, Microsoft will take your money to do it.
Right. They won't actually support you.
they won't
But
sup-
they won't deny you the support, the contract that says they do.
Somebody will answer the phone for
Right.
$10,000 a month. So yeah. But
We kind of drifted there.
Steve Jobs.
And random computer stuff.
And random computer stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else to say as far as like spoiler stuff about it.
I got one more thing to say.
Sure.
Is in terms of this being a mainstream movie, there's enough like things to relate to with the family stuff, but there's an awful lot of nerdy stuff in there too. I was just wondering how how a regular audience would be put off by that, or
I can't imagine they would be.
I don't feel like they would be. Because to me, it's like people that understand, that even recognize the products that they're talking about. If you even know, like, the difference between the Apple II and the Macintosh, which is a smaller part of the population than...
these days?
Well, I mean, I would say it's a fraction of the people that don't know the difference between the two. Like, weren't they the same thing? They're both apples. What is the difference? I think there was enough information in the movie to keep track of what they were talking about.
It can be like self-referential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'll hurt this movie is the same thing that hurts most Sorkin things. It's dialogue heavy.
But in this case, that's good.
And I don't think so. I think Sorkin gets dinged a lot more for what he's saying, not how he's saying it. And
That's fair.
this is an adaptation of a book that already existed. The Social Network is a beloved movie, and this is very much like The Social Network in that it's a biography. It's an adaptation of a biography. It's not him reinventing the news like the newsroom. It's not him. It's not political, and that's another big thing people take swings at him for. I don't think, because the way they built it with all those ticking time bombs for the keynote to be right, every one of those, all three of those, like, you're invested as an audience member, and all those conversations make sense, and you're completely fascinated by this completely unreasonable human being
Right.
Yeah.
that Like everyone seems to be bothering at the last minute for some reason. And
Yeah.
Does he ever acknowledge the Apple II team? I don't know that history.
Yeah, I was almost waiting for that.
I
and it
don't
didn't
think
happen.
so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because I mean, the most he acknowledged of the old Macintosh team is when he literally had a burial for the classic Mac, which was fantastic. But
You know, there's another movie, another moment in the movie I liked towards the beginning when it was so important for him, and apparently only him, that the computer would say hello. And like, I got it, and like, it's that whole thing of, you know, Vision is lonely, to where, you know, everyone, he feels like they're all like his enemies and stuff, but it's so important that it does this, and they get that friendly thing from the computer. It's like, I totally got that like, if he was the one describing that in a room, it's just a big, huge pain in the ass. But
Right.
he sees the big picture kind of thing. I think they put that across really well. Mm-hmm. Like, I really felt like, yeah, I get why he's arguing for that, because it's like, it's important.
Yeah.
Looking back the way, you know.
Right, and the technical side of me is watching that and going, fake it. It's so easy to fake that.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
fake it.
I like-
And then their decision finally is, yeah, we'll just
kinda
put the
did.
we'll put the one that's 4 times as powerful out there that can
which
do
will
it.
be out in a year anyway.
yeah, they almost try to take credit for the concept of the dog and pony show. It's been around for years. I mean, I've done it myself.
Well,
from a client.
but they pretend that Kate Winslet is like against it as their
Right.
head of
It's just like,
marketing.
nope.
I'm like, no, your head of marketing would be the first
Should
in
be all
line to
over that.
say,
The head of marketing be like, why are we doing a live demo? This should just be a videotape recording played up on the screen.
yes, just put a CRT inside of this box that looks like a computer.
I was watching that
And they can
thinking,
do
like,
what
yeah,
you want.
they must have had a lot of integrity back then, because now game demos and everything, it's like,
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
No, we've never, as a technology guy here, we've never had integrity. Not when it comes to showing things off in front of clients who are going to buy shit.
Yeah. That's Steve Jobs. If you like the way we do these, please like the video, subscribe, check out all the written and video reviews at dalemaxfield.com, and thanks for watching.